Now you've heard us say things like DCT, AMT, CVT and so on to tell you the kind of a transmission that a car comes with. Today we have the Hyundai Venue with us, and this one comes with an iMT transmission. I know that's a lot of abbreviations, but this one actually stands for Intelligent Manual Transmission. It's debuting with the Hyundai Venue, the car that we have with us today, and we're going to tell you why it's really, really nice. But first, let's talk about the Hyundai Venue itself. Now, we won't go much into details because we have already reviewed this car in depth, but what you need to know is that the iMT transmission comes with the 1-liter turbocharged petrol engine. You can have this transmission in multiple variants with this engine, but this is the only engine option that gets this transmission. Just to remind you of the numbers, the engine makes an impressive 120 PS of power and 171 Newton meters of torque. The next thing we want you to know is that this transmission option costs about 20,000 rupees more than the equivalent Hyundai Venue variant with a manual gearbox. To give you a reference, the DCT gearbox, on the other hand, that comes with this 1-liter engine, costs about 1.15 lakh more than the equivalent manual variant. So remember this price equation as we tell you more about the gearbox. Now let me tell you what's so special about the iMT transmission. What it is basically a clutchless manual transmission, and it's really as simple as that sounds. You have a manual transmission gear lever over here, you can select the gears manually, and well, you don't have a clutch. And that changes things quite a lot. So how this mechanism works, in simple words, is that the gear lever has a sensor that senses your intent of wanting to shift from the current gear that your car is in. This it senses by a slight movement of the gear lever, and when it does feel like you want to shift the gears, it sends a signal to the brains of the transmission, which then puts things in motion to have the clutch disengaged, leaving you, the driver, free to slot in whatever gear you want to be in. The moment the gear lever slots in the correct position, the clutch is engaged once again and you have the drive. Now, I know this sounds like quite a lot, but in real time, this transition to releasing the clutch and engaging it once again is seamless and extremely intuitive. In terms of the time it takes, it's at par, if not faster, than what you would have taken to press the clutch lever manually with your leg and change gears. And as far as the driving experience is concerned, well, it really does make your life simpler because it is taking away the entire clutch pedal operation. It takes a couple of minutes to adjust to because you will be going for the clutch pedal by habit, but it's fairly simple to adapt to. All you have to do is lift off the accelerator pedal as you would in a manual gearbox while shifting the gears for a smoother operation. It will still work the clutch even if you keep the pedal pinned and not lift your foot off, but then the operation is slightly less smooth. Other than that, the car comes with creep functionality, so driving in traffic is no problem at all. And in case you slot it into the wrong gear, like going into 5th instead of 3rd at slow speeds, the instrument cluster display will tell you that please select the correct gear. So basically, it is impossible to stall this car. So think of the iMT being a perfect middle ground between a manual and an AMT gearbox. Coming to the Refinement, well, this is where the biggest advantage of the iMT lies. You see, we judge automatic gearbox by several criteria, but the most prominent ones are the head nod that the driver gets while the gears are shifted by the car. That happens because, well, it's the gearbox doing its own thing, but in the case of the iMT, it is the driver who controls the gear shifts, so we are ready for it when the shift happens, thus completely eliminating any sort of head movement during gear shifts, just like how it is in a manual gearbox. The second thing is how often the onboard computer gets it right as to when it should upshift or downshift. That too is eliminated because it is the driver that decides when the shift has to happen. So yes, while it is a clutchless manual, this is perhaps the best automatic gearbox out there right now. The only thing you have to decide is how badly you want to have control over the gear shifts and want to do it manually, because at the end of the day, you will be changing gears unlike a proper automatic gearbox where both your left hand and left leg can rest and let the car do its thing. So there you have it. This is the iMT transmission for you, and if you haven't guessed it already, Well, I really enjoyed driving this gearbox. The reasons are simple. If you're someone like me who likes to have that input of a manual transmission but does not want to press the clutch lever again and again, especially given the city driving conditions that we have, well, you're really going to like this gearbox. And for a small premium of 20,000 rupees, this is fantastic value for money. I really like it, and I only hope to see this in more cars in the future.